yourself. It's one thing to lead 5 people. It's another thing to lead 10, 20, 100 people. So my goal is to deliver leadership lessons to help talk about that aspect of startup culture. So I'm excited to be here. I do want to give a special thanks to our sponsors today, JP Morgan Chase, IVMF through Syracuse, and Texas Veterans Commission.
Capital Factory.
I
don't remember this one. Command Arms? Is that the? Combined Arms, sorry. And then Texas Veterans Coalition, which.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, Jeremy, you want to kick us off here?
Sure. So I want to introduce Jim Orbock. He is a friend of mine. What?
You actually admit it.
Yeah. I do.
Wow.
We met, our sons went to the same school, our kids went to the same school.
Yep, Egyptian Day.
Yeah, and we were the only ones that weren't really working that hard that day, and so we met up at the school event, and it was Egyptian Day, so we're the only 2 dads in there, so we kind of met each other. And
I think it was out of desperation.
Yeah, well, that or talking to 3rd graders all day, so.
Desperation.
Desperation, cool.
Not talking to 3rd graders all day.
Well, Jim is my friend, he's a veteran,
Yep.
He's retired again.
Second time,
Yep.
just, about a month ago.
So he's a retired colonel in the Army, went to West Point, working at Spartan Financial.
Yep. Startup.
Startup here, and then actually is on my board of advisors for Startup Anthology, helped me figure out what I'm doing and how we're going to do it, whatever that is. So, Jim.
My first client.
Yeah, well, that too, yeah. Yeah. So Jim, what kind of motivated you to get into, well, first of all, go to West Point?
I had no motivation to go to West Point. And so if you go back, so went in 84, so I'm actually an 88 grad out of West Point. So Randy George, Chief of Staff of the Army, is my classmate, did much better than I did through the career. And so most of my classmates actually did well. I was probably the bottom third of the class, so I wasn't the GOAT, which is the lowest ranking, but I think we were in the same club together or something, so. But I had no desire to go there. What it was is a guidance counselor in high school. She said you should apply to all the military academies, and she kept hounding me, and just to get her off my back, I actually applied and thought I was done. And then I decided to go for a competition. I was in Albuquerque. Dad was a military career, and so career military, Air Force. But I applied to all the academies, and lo and behold, West Point came out real early and said, you can join us. And Air Force Academy was dorking around, and the Naval Academy said your GPA wasn't good enough. I was carrying a 4.2 at the time. So then I put in for this competition, won the leadership award for New Mexico. Next week, Naval Academy called me again and said, hey, could you reapply? I said, no way.
You lost it.
You lost it. But I was the youngest of 6, and reality kicked in, and Ronald Reagan actually gave me the appointment to the academy, and I couldn't compete. I wanted to go to Stanford, but $80,000 a year versus free. Or actually, they paid me, was a pretty good incentive to go.
So after your career in the Army,
yep,
and you got out, what's been your motivation to actually become an entrepreneur and start your own business? So
first time out, I just dorked around. So that's 18. I retired as a colonel, and then my wife looked at me and said, "You really need to get a job." And so the Army, she said, thanks very much for playing for 8 months and growing the garden, but you need to go find a job. So Army Futures Command kicked in, and so I went and got my second career with them. So I was employee number 2, hire for the Army Futures Command coming to Austin off the street.
Okay.
So just left there. I mean, the president gave us a unique opportunity to walk out the door and start a company while still getting paid.
Really? I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, I'm getting paid through December.
Okay, well, that's awesome.
So what better way to transition into a job than to have 8 months of
a paycheck?
A paycheck, yeah. And so wife actually During this time, the wife actually started her own job, so she's always wanted to be an interior designer. But 30 years of following me around the world really doesn't lean itself towards that. So she started, as soon as I started at the Army Futures Command, she started working. And so since then, she's in her fifth year now, has won not only regional awards, but our state awards. So she's won 2 state awards for her designs. She's actually won all of Southeast United States for one of her designs. So she's doing really well. Her business was set and still going well. And so when I got this opportunity, and really what it became about to is the Chief Operations Officer, the G357, about 3 months ago said, I can't understand why you guys are working for AFC. You guys are really talented. You can do this stuff. And it just started me thinking, going, why am I working at Army Futures Command?
Right.
The president announced this exit strategy.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
And so I said,
Gotcha.
and it just made sense that this is a time to transition minimal risk. And I've run businesses before, so this hasn't been a new startup for me. I've actually had 3 other businesses, LLCs, throughout my 30-year military career. And so this is number 4 starting.
Okay.
It's just a new field that I'm taking off in. And so I feel a little more confident because my military career has prepared me for what I want to do now.
Right. What? So, through your military career, your 3 other businesses, what are the top 3 lessons learned that you're bringing into this new venture that you're working on with Spartan?
Top 3 lessons. First one is get a good lawyer. Second one is
Good thing it's being recorded.
yeah. Second one is that it's not a solo effort; it's a team effort.
Mm-hmm.
And the third one is spend as much time as you can narrowing your vision of what you want to do.
Okay.
Because there'll be so many distractors, so many things that will want to pull you off target. We used to say in the Army, if you aim at nothing, you'll hit it every time.
That's, yeah. We
And
said that
s-
in the Navy too. So. Yeah.
Well, you guys usually do that.
Yeah. Well, ballistic missiles, you can aim at nothing and still. hit
Well, you know,
everything.
yeah, you just got to get approximates good
Yeah,
enough.
yeah. It's like horseshoes, hand
Hand
grenades,
grenades and
nuclear
nuclear
weapons.
warfare. Yeah, right.
So, out of those 3 lessons learned and like the lessons learned that's going forward, what advice would you give to your younger self? And honestly, would you have listened to it whenever you told it?
I probably wouldn't have listened to the lawyer part.
Okay.
I mean, who wants lawyers hanging around? So,
They're expensive.
no, lawyers are great guys. I have very good friends that are lawyers, and they keep me out of trouble. Probably the other one, the experience was about narrowing down the focus. I think all 3 is what I would tell myself, and I really, I don't know if I adhered to that very well. Early on as a lieutenant, everyone's told, listen to your non-commissioned officer because they'll keep you out of trouble. And my wife will tell you probably for the first 5 years of our marriage, I didn't listen very well. She'd be talking and, it'd be sort of like that Charlie Brown wah, 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 wah going on. And so I think I've come to appreciate different perspectives and different personalities in a way that I value their input much more. I may not agree to it, but the different perspective gives me, and that's probably the biggest thing, especially looking back down, is the ability to have perspective, the larger view, in order to narrow down where do I fit into this ecosystem and how can I contribute value into that ecosystem.
Gotcha.
And so right now, looking back at myself, I don't know if I really valued perspective.
Okay. Well, you ready to bring your half of this on? I'll give you the mic and then.
Thanks.
This is a tag team. I feel like I'm wrestling
I told you
WWF.
It's the position of honor here. You're in the position of honor. So I want to unpack what you said a little bit about narrowing your vision? Because I feel like you're right. As a single person business, right, especially at startup, right, you are doing everything.
Yep.
Right. You have to be the marketeer. You have to be the financier. You have to be HR until as you add more people. So how do you begin to narrow those things down? And really, how do you key in on and make sure you stay keyed in on what you want to achieve as a business?
Yeah, I think I'd throw in probably 3 or 4 things, bits of advice. There's an old adage that if you want to learn something new, read an old book. And if you want to learn something old, read a new book.
I feel like that's accurate.
Yeah, and so there's this old book called The On-Purpose Business, which really helped me, and it's the second part of a book called The On-Purpose Person. And so it was really kind of an interesting book in the fact the guy took all these things that were out there in front of him and kind of played this imaginary tennis match and said, of these two, it was kind of like the Final Four, Final 16 in basketball, and he narrowed down which was more important. It was a matter of priority to get to what was the most important thing. And really what I liked about that was it was one lens, one way to approach what was going on. And there's numerous ways that you can do that. There's, the Myers-Briggs, there's Team Myers-Briggs, and there's a lot of argument either way on whether that's good or not. There's other team building.
I feel about that.
Yeah, you agree with that? There's other team building things out there. There's other ways to narrow down. But I think if you could start reading books, I'm reading this one called Venture Deals right now. And it's just really illuminating because it's coming in not only from the VC side, but also from the entrepreneur side of what's important, what sort of thing. So I think reading's one. Second one is having an advisor or mentor. Because they've gone down the road once or twice, maybe not the same thing, but they've been in similar circumstances of which to do that. Third one is having that team around you and sharing the vision of what you think. And my kids are in Scouts, and they have this thing, what is vision? Well, it's what future success looks like. And so having an idea of what that future success looks like, President Kennedy saying we are going to go to the moon. Well, he didn't know how to the technology didn't even exist at that time. But he created a vision of what success looked like, was putting boots on the ground on the moon. And we figured out how to get from here to there. The goal was set out. And I think part of that goal setting is what you as an entrepreneur really need to do is, hey, I want to be, 10 people strong. I want to be doing $1 billion worth of asset management. I want to be doing X, Y, Z. What do my peers in this industry look like? And it may be an industry that no one's doing anything like that, but you have a goal of where you want to be. And most likely you may never reach it. But at least you're heading in the right direction. We used to talk about that, soldiers, it's not a matter of when they're going to get there on the land nav, if they're going the right direction, or if they'll get there. It's a matter of when they'll get there, if they're headed the right direction. If they're headed 180s out, you can't help them.
Well, so it sounds like you're sticking to the purpose, right? And we have in the Army the 5-paragraph op order, right? And paragraph 2 and paragraph 3. Paragraph 3 contains the commander's intent, right? Purpose, key task, and end state.
Right.
Right. So that drives, forgetting all else.
You got the intent.
You got the intent.
Yeah.
And you can carry out with that.
Right.
So as you start to hire on people and start to build out a business, it's important to keep people focused on that intent, right?
Yep. I agree.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's the investment into your people that makes that difference. Whether it's the initial onboarding, the challenge you have is that how I will treat a new employee is going to be completely different from the 10-year-old or 10-year, 15-year employee that's in my organization. And so I want to incentivize them staying because I've invested so much to them. And how do I do that? The conferences, investing in their career, investing in their personal goals. And it takes time then, when you talk about expanding out, to figure out, does what I want to accomplish or the goals for the organization, how does that align to the personal goals of the individual? And can we have it to be such a way that it's a win-win situation, really a win-win-win situation for the company, for the investors, for the individual. And you end up with loyalty out of and truly the hard part of any wading through all these different variables is that ability to build trust and maintain trust.
Like that.
And so, do you have my back? Do I have your back? Can I stay with you long term? And it's counterculture to much of what industry is talking about now is, you're here just to perform for the little bit 2 or 3 years that you're here, and I just want you to perform. I have no loyalty to you staying with me long term.
Mm-hmm. So to me, it sounds very similar to what Simon Sinek would say, right? You start with why.
Yeah.
So you explain your purpose, and that. When I say this back to you, make sure I got it right. What you're saying, like that will help bring along, build trust, build loyalty with future employees from 0 to 5, 5 to 10, 10 to 100. Which brings me to another question. So in the Army, in the services, right, we are part of a large organization. We do not have an empty calendar. We have a very full calendar.
Yep.
Wherever we go. And we are all very aware that we are small cogs in lots of in a big calculator, big machine, right? So that is to me that is a very different type of requirement, very different type of leadership than being a startup or small business owner. So can you talk me through kind of some of the challenges there with being, in a big, larger machine and then being your own machine?
Actually, I think one of the nice things is you probably have more freedom in your startup or small business. Of course, there's more responsibility. If you don't do it, it doesn't get done. Yep. Most of the time. So you especially if you're a one-person startup, it all falls back to one person. But there's a lot more intimacy, and I think the challenge for a lot of startups as they grow bigger into the culture changes, and so how do you maintain that intimate culture as you get larger? And so, and I'm not sure I have a good answer on that. Probably the one that I would reflect on, it was really kind of, I was just reading it today. There was Napoleon this was after the Battle of Waterloo. He is on St. Helena reflecting on Jesus Christ. And he said, here I am one of the emperors of Alexander the Great, Caesar, Napoleon. I mean, he lists off all these other great emperors. And he says, yet alone Jesus was completely different. And he said, we ruled, men died for us because of force. And it was only because of love that these people are willing to die, millions of people. And he said, even across time, I failed the Battle of Waterloo, and all my key people have abandoned me. And he says, here's Jesus, he died, and people are still willing to die for him 1,800 years later.
So that concept of servant leadership.
Servant leadership, the willing to die for someone else. I mean, he took 12 guys that were nothing, and they went everywhere. And so what can I do? How can I reflect that servant leadership attitude towards those that work for me? And how can I manifest that into the key leaders that I have, that they in turn will want to serve the people? And that's really kind of the organizational spirit. I've been part of companies that have that ethos in them of wanting to help others to succeed in their goals, personal goals. So people first, mission always. We always say that in the Army.
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
And yet sometimes I don't think we ever really live it. So how can you really make that happen? So that's kind of my thought. And that really helps to keep that ethos running through small businesses.
Okay, so then how does one balance that idea of servant leadership, that idea that, you know, your job is to remove the obstacles of your employees to facilitate their success, so that facilitates the success of the business, while at the same time providing them purpose, direction, motivation?
So I think a lot of challenges leaders have is they want to do the job.
Right.
As opposed to let the person assigned to do that role and responsibility do the job. And so I think really helping to define roles, responsibilities, and outputs for each of the people helps pull back in what's their bucket. And I don't want to do with that. I don't have enough time. I barely have enough time as it is to do what I need to do, let alone do that job. And so one of the challenges we had, the battalion I took to Afghanistan the second time, so we were the senior civil affairs battalion in all of Afghanistan in 2012. And I ended up, we were dispersed all across the country. But during our train up, I allowed we did more in our training than what was required for us to get out of the site, out of the deployment site. And I challenged each of my commanders. I called them stallions. They would fight against each other all the time. But they were just, I mean, I just came back from Montana. Last Friday we were branding up there, and we had probably 50 horses. And it was fun to watch the horses interact with each other. And that's what these guys were. I mean,
okay, I'm curious where you're going with this.
What I did was I gave them freedom to execute within their sphere.
Wait, the horses or your commanders?
Both.
Okay, right. Sorry.
No, the commanders gave them guidance, direction, and they operated within their own sphere. But you also want to throw in challenging to them too, because they'll get the stallions, just like the stallions up in Montana. When they're bored, they'll start fighting with each other.
It sounds like my kids.
It's probably pretty close. big kids. But giving them purpose, meaning, direction, challenge, while looking for their best interest, and knowing that they are in a safe environment that they can be trusted.
All right. You want to finish up here, Jeremy? You got any questions before we turn it over to the audience?
No. I just want to reiterate on the two things. Is when you're starting a business and you start by yourself, you are in charge of doing everything, right? And as you bring on more people, you have to develop that trust to help them take it on. But it's really hard for you to give up ownership of something because you've done it a certain way all this time to get it out from 0 to 1, and now you're going to 2, and that's a big change, or to 10. So it's like relinquishing control of your baby to someone else to help you do it.
Yeah, and I think you're exactly right that a good leader will let it go. Mm-hmm. And as much as they have to trust you, you have to trust them.
Right.
So the trust is a two-way street.
Yeah.
And so can you, and part of that is, and that's why I go back to a good mentor. That's why I go back to reading stories, reading an old book. You'll find that these are sources by which you can build your own self-confidence. And so a good leader is confident in themselves and is willing to trust. Mm-hmm. Now, the flip side of that is, I call them data points. When people started creating a pattern of behavior, pattern of performance, that did not align to being successful.
Right. That's huge. You got to
Then you address it. Yep.
Got to remove that.
Yeah.
If possible. And then the one last thing you mentioned, like as startups and small companies, there is a sense of psychological trust as well of within that team, where you can be and say and almost do almost anything, whether it's stupid or great, and feel comfortable in that group to fail. And that I think that is, as startups and companies grow, they have to maintain that intentionality of that psychological safety that's within that small cohort, and then intentionally tell the story of what that's like to carry it on to the next cohort of employees.
So I'll throw a couple things on just kind of throwing that. My first company commander, Tony Ranieri, phenomenal leader. When he left company command, we gave him a plaque that said, "Thank you for giving us the freedom to fail."
It's huge.
And so second lieutenants, I fully expect that they're going to fail. Mm-hmm. If that was, which they, yeah, right. But if it was a colonel in combat, I do not want him failing. And so there's a level of experience that says, I expected you to perform at X, Y, and Z. So a new employee, I fully expect him to fail. But I'm not going to give him the task of, what was Eisenhower given? Take Europe.
Yeah. Easy.
So I fully expect that a younger employee is not going to get the same level of responsibility, nor do I expect, my grace period is much larger for failure to help mentor and guide and develop. 5 years from then, I'm okay with a mistake as long as it doesn't kill the company.
Right. If they're making the same mistake 5 years from now,
yeah.
You've waited too long.
Right.
But just saying.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for coming on and being our guinea pig guest host for this fireside chat. We just want to open it up for everybody. If anyone else has any questions, feel free. If not, we can just go to mingle.
Well, this is also going to lead into our guided networking. So one of our goals today is to build trust. This has been a theme that Jim has iterated on throughout this conversation. And I would offer that people talk a lot about the attention economy. We are in the trust economy. People want to do business with people that they trust. And so here's an exercise in trust. How many of you read the registration instructions at the front table? Okay, a few. So one of the guides was, this is a no pitch zone. I don't want to hear your pitch. I hear them all day, every day. What I want to hear is who you are as a person, Wayne. I want you to tell me about the fun day you had in the classroom with your students. I want you, Jimmy, to tell me how your day went, how that workout was going. You and your girlfriend were hitting the weights the other day. I saw on Facebook, I know. I want you all to develop a relationship with one another, because in developing a relationship, you build trust. And that will be the person that you turn to then when you have a challenge you need to face. So what I'd love to do as we're opening it up to questions is go around the room and ask what resonated with you out of this story. What came up as Jim was sharing his experience, as Andrew was asking questions, as Jeremy was peppering him? What came up for you about your own experiences? Maybe something that you're learning, maybe you got the name of a good book you want to check out. So I want to go around the room. I want you to tell me your name. Tell me a takeaway from this conversation. And then here's what I want you to think about. What is your ask and your give today? Do not tell me, my name is Lauren Postler and I offer financial consulting services.
You too? Oh, I'm sorry.
I want you, I do not ask me for any kind of financial advice. A good ask would be, I'm looking to connect with, I'm a new board member for the Space Force Association. I am looking to connect with people that are in space and space adjacent. My give is that I'm deeply connected to the veteran community, and I would love to help you learn how to navigate that too. So I hope I gave a good example. You ready? Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
You got it.
So name, takeaway from the conversation, and then an ask and a give. And the nice thing about being first is that if you fuck up, no big deal. You were the first.
Thank you. My name is Mike Johnson. A takeaway. You said, I wrote it down. Outside of the book, I looked up the book on Amazon, screenshotted it. You said a good leader will let it go. That stuck out huge to me. Then came back around and said, if a pattern occurs, you must remove it and address it. That stuck out huge to me. I'm a person who, my entire career and my entire life, I've been a go-getter and seemingly in the minority for wanting to go so hard, so fast, and to perform at a level. And so it's very difficult for me when you said that. I appreciate it though. My give, as a startup entrepreneur myself, startup entrepreneur and veteran, I have a pretty substantial following on social. So, as other veterans and other entrepreneurs, if we trust each other, I would love to shout you out to my platform.
Mike is being very modest. So when he says he has a good following, Mike is a media superstar. And if you want to learn how to maybe boost your own presence, how to be comfortable in front of a camera, maybe we'll do a workshop, right, Mike? I'm just putting you on the spot. There you go.
You can sit in my seat next time.
My name's Jason Rexilius. Actually, the real takeaway was exactly the book suggestion. You want to learn something new, read an old book. You want to learn something old, read a new book. That resonated so much with me. The question I actually wanted to ask, though, sorry, I don't want to derail this, was we were talking about focus, and this has been a struggle I've had on two of my companies. And when you say, like, focus, 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 we all say that, right? And vision and focus, and like that dichotomy, like that like, it's almost a paradox, right? And so you have to have that broader vision, but how do you drive that down to a focus? And then how do you instill that in your people? And so that was kind of a question, was like, how do you balance those two?
Yeah. I think when I heard vision being, what does future success look like? And that definition, what it does is it's exhausting because you have to kind of imagine. And so going to out of the box things to kind of broaden your horizon. And I think that's where perspective comes in. So some of the things that I would say, mentors, I think God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we listen twice as much. And I think we do the opposite. We talk twice as much and listen the other way. So I think listening to everyone. And so I ran the interagency coordination group in Indo-PACOM, where we had 23 different agencies. And it took a while to get through everybody's story and what they brought to the table. But once we got that, and then trying to get it into the chief of staff of Indo-PACOM, who's already busy, and try to convince him that that was valuable, we ended up using military assets during, and Indo-PACOM is along the Ring of Fire, so everybody has a disaster. It's not when, or not if, but when, and it seems pretty much frequency, but that interagency coordination allowed us to bring assets to bear that any of the services didn't have, and it was long-term relief, but it was trying to convince the team that we, and really what happened was we started trying to go left of bang, and how do we build these countries to be more resilient? And so we brought in, it was actually kind of interesting, Taiwan has one of the best fire rescue centers in the world, one of 3 that has like a Swiftwater River actually training center right there. They have a complete subway that they've built that you can put on fire and do anything you want to it. They have a high-rise building. Most of the countries that we were working with didn't have any of those capabilities, so we brought them to Taiwan, of all places, to do this training. And so we ended up just touring through AIT this place, and we realized just on a casual tour that this was a gem and that we could have future success and define it, and then actually walk the dog backwards and say this is the resources required to get to that final end state where you're building now resiliency within other countries and helping them to set up their own training center. That's a long story to say, talk to everybody, read a lot, dream in order to get to narrow back down to that focus. And probably the challenge for all of us is to get away, get the noise out of our ears, and spend that time taking all that data and synthesizing it down. And really you got to kind of pull in, that's where you pull in that mentor, close friends, people with different perspectives to help you hone that focus to a razor edge. That's why you go to Montana
Yeah, yeah.
to get away from it all.
Yeah, I like that. So the only ask I've got is I'm really just here networking, making friends, connecting with people. I don't have anything specific yet. I guess the give I can offer is I've done a couple of different startups. The one I'm on now has kind of gone through a couple of phases of funding with SOCOM and some other agencies, and I've gone through some of that ass pain of dealing with government and SBIRs and some of that other stuff. And so it's awful. Highly don't recommend doing it, but if you're doing something that's kind of mission focused, I can share scars with you. And
Before I pass it to Branche, I know that other people had questions for our guest as well. So as we make our way around, your name, your ask, and your given any questions that you have, okay? Branche.
I'm Branche Brown. I have currently doing a second startup. Had done a first startup and been involved with Capital Factory now, working on the second one. The ask that I would have is, Mike, with you talked about social media followings. I'd like to get a one-on-one and have some conversations with you to kind of understand that a little bit better. It's not really my area of expertise, and I haven't really spent much time with it. A give, I've spent probably about 18 months really digging pretty deep on AI and AI tools. So if anybody's kind of really wanting to hone their understanding and leverage them more effectively and efficiently in their businesses, let me know. I'm willing to do that. And then I did have a question. There was a follow-up question at the end, just talking about taking your company from one person to 2, 3, 4, and that sometimes decline in efficiency and effectiveness of organizations. What are your thoughts on, like, building in SOPs and TTPs and having documented structure that people can fall into? Because I know in my first business, I didn't build any of that. And when I brought somebody else in, I'm having to remember, oh man, I got to talk to you about. It was only when it crossed my mind. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think as you get larger, I mean, if it's one person, 2 people, you can probably just sit next to each other and turn around and say, hey, what do you think of this? When you start losing, when the interaction is not you, me, but it's me, you to them to someone else, the stronger or clearer that you can make the roles and responsibilities of and the outputs that are expected. People feel a sense of, I would say, my thought is relief in the fact that I know where I fit in this ecosystem. And the challenge that I think a lot of startups have is that there's so much going on, it's so chaotic, that they don't know, and maybe the role and responsibility is you're the fix-it guy. Whatever falls through the crack, you're that guy that I'm going to come to, and that's your job. I'm thinking of another construction company that's going on. Everybody does everything, and it seems like nothing's getting done because they haven't divided the workload, and this person does it this way, and the person comes in behind them does it a different way, and then the first person comes back to it and kind of gets angry because I spent all this time fixing it, and it just seems like a big circular runaround, but nothing's moving forward because everyone's trying to do what everyone else's job. And so the clearer you can define roles and responsibilities, outputs, I think everyone starts rowing the same way on the ship as opposed to being following their own drummer.
Hey, I would add on to that. So be intentional about what you're hiring somebody to do, just like what he's saying, right? I have this specific problem that I don't have the time or the energy or the knowledge to do. I need somebody to do this for me. Don't just hire somebody because you need extra bodies, right? But be intentional about a problem that you are hiring somebody to solve for you, right? And then a book that Lauren turned me on to, Rocket Fuel. That's going to set you straight.
Such a good book, Rocket Fuel.
So
you can do
that's
a
gonna outline
team assessment in there.
So, and Jason, it sounds like you need an integrator.
Yes,
Read the
Jason's
book.
an integrator.
You'll learn all about it.
So speaking of being intentional, because I want everyone to get a chance to share, and then I want time for y'all to talk to one another. Instead of going through all of the 3 things, let's pick one. So your name, and then decide, was there a great takeaway that you learned that was really resonating with you? Do you have an ask? Do you have a give? Do you have a question? And that way, hopefully, we'll get through everyone. Everyone gets to hear everyone's name. You get to learn a little bit about that person. And then we'll have time to chat with each other. And if you heard something that you liked, you get to talk to that person.
All right. Thank you. Nice to meet everyone. My name's Aaron Stiglitz. I know you just gave us instruction, but I have a takeaway. It's brief. My takeaway is only from it. It's very interesting to hear the ability to fail while in the military. I'm coming from an enlisted Marine Corps infantry perspective, so failure wasn't an option. So it's interesting to hear that at different layers. But that's fair. My ask is, though, I just graduated UT with a technology commercialization master's in science. I'm new to Austin. I know Jimmy from a couple other events. But my ask is just for guidance and stuff. I'm in the quick look phase, got some ideas. My wife is working her way through her MBA, and she's currently a nurse. So we're trying to really determine a space that we want to start exploring opportunities or business ventures. So as I come to these things, just guidance. I'd like to hear anyone else's things, and as questions come up, would love feedback.
Spencer Payne, Jens, thanks for your time this morning or this evening and sitting in front of everybody. My ask, I just moved down to Austin, bootstrapped, run a small business, a nonprofit. I just want to meet and build trust with other veterans that are building businesses. That's why I'm trying to come to this, learn from other people, and I'll keep it at 1. So, Spencer Payne.
MSTC grad too.
I'm Chris McCaig. I'm still serving in service, so I'm just here, former MSTC, class of 17. I've been out of the space for a little while, so I'm just coming back in because I miss it. So I got no ask other than thanks for letting me be here.
So we just got a whole bunch of Marines over here.
Hell yeah.
I'm Batman. No, I'm Wayne, but everybody thinks it's Wang, and so I always say I'm Batman first just to get it clear, you know what I'm saying? Like, Wang, seriously? Come on, man, what makes you think? No, thank you so much. My takeaway here was something that you said. Now, if you don't mind clarifying it, you mentioned a book that that you were reading that had we developed that self-confidence through certain stories, and I just didn't catch that book you were reading, and that just really resonated with me because that's kind of where I'm at right now.
The on-purpose person on the on-purpose business?
The on-purpose business and the on-purpose person?
Yeah, so by the same guy, I don't remember the guy's name, but Kevin McCarthy.
You also mentioned Venture Deals.
Yeah, Venture Deals is a great book as well.
Okay.
So what I liked about Venture Deals is it gives two different perspectives. It gives the venture capitalist as well as the entrepreneur comments, and both are audiobooks as well. So if you like to drive around, you can listen to it.
Thank you. And then my ask, just kind of same as these guys, just looking for a little mentorship. And then I'm an educator, so my network is in education, especially secondary education. So if any of you have businesses that go down that road, then that would be my offer or my give.
Hi, everyone. I'm Joe Fisher. I work for 98 Octane. My ask is for like-minded individuals that care about the wellness of the military and first responder people. Not just one part, but like the whole corporation. That's it.
Megan Temez, and thank you for coming. It was very enlightening. And ask, working with veterans throughout the state in all different forms, if you specialize in something or you're willing to work with somebody that may have questions that I'm not an expert in, can I give them your name?
Hey everybody, Mickey Reeve. I'm still serving right now. My give for the room here is I have a fairly holistic view of defense innovation, both from the green suiter side, looking down and in, and looking out, and from the entrepreneur side, trying to attack defense innovation. So mostly for the Army, but some of the other services as well. So here to chat with anybody.
Jason Martinez. I guess my takeaway was you started off with focus your business, and that's been a real struggle for me is focusing. Recently retired, and since retiring, it seems like there's opportunities coming out of out of the woodwork. So I started my business, and then I ended up getting a job offer that I thought I couldn't refuse. So I jumped on that, and then put my business on hold, and so now I'm trying to start my business up. I'm no longer working for that company, by the way. The opportunity wasn't really that great. So just, here looking for some mentorship and just to kind of see or get some advice on how to focus and stay focused.
How we doing, everyone? Name's Evan Ball. I'm not a veteran, but kind of part of the Capital Factory community, and always seriously considered a career in the military and or a federal agency. So thought this would be a great opportunity to attend, and so really looking for mentorship as I kind of figure out that career path. And as I do that, that's a more long-term goal, I guess. But currently unemployed, so looking for a job at the same time. So. Yeah, so quick background, done some medicine, consulting, investment banking.
Hey everybody, my name's Adam Rosenfield. I come here with two gives. So I come wearing two hats. One, I work in workforce outreach with Cap Metro. It's our transit provider here. Our workforce is about 12% vets. So we are a heavy veteran hiring company. In fact, we just hired 2 vets from the Transition Assistance Program at Fort Cavazos for our new EV roles, which is kind of cool. So I'm here on behalf of, we're hiring, but I mean, look, I've been in Austin for a long time, so if you're not interested in transit tech, can introduce you to others. But I also come as well as a board member for the Pflugerville Community Development Corporation. We're building an innovation center out in Pflugerville, and we've been doing a lot as it relates to startup support, startup accelerators. So if you're interested in that, would love to connect you out there as well to resources and, hey, even space if you're interested.
Hi, John Lindsay. I guess my ask, what brought me here is I have an idea and a patent holder, I guess, on an idea using drones and computer vision for people in the... Excellent. And so to complete the ask basically is, seeking opinions on the validity or invalidity of the idea. So that's what brought me here. Sneaking in the second one, I am a tech guy basically, so I can kind of help people kind of flesh out their ideas for the people that are kind of in the earlier stages. So if you have any questions like that, feel free to chat me up on that.
Good afternoon. My name is Adrian. Following the joke, so like if you remember Rocky, yes, like that, like Joe Adrian. I moved to Texas from Mexico 20 years ago, and I heard that joke so many times that it actually, now that I meet people that they have that generational gap, that they don't know what Rocky is, that they don't say that joke anymore. So that's a sign of aging. Anyway, breaking that. I'm glad that somebody said, I recognize that it's not a veteran. I'm not a veteran either. My gift, first, well, thank you, Lauren. You're doing an excellent job railing everybody. Thank you, everybody, for your panelists, for your insight. I'm in transition right now. I am looking for my new opportunity so I can offer time. If you want to discuss your idea, your thoughts, what can go wrong, all of that, I'm available for that. I think I do a very good job in a very short amount of time trying to get the picture and poke holes, right? That's what you need to do sometimes. I'm going to tell you how pretty the idea is. The baby is ugly. The baby needs to be changed and all of that. Yeah, so I'm okay with giving that that feedback. And also, additional to that is, I am on the side of whenever you are growing your business, whenever you need to put order and SOPs and what do we need to do that, I'm good at that also. And I have worked very well balancing with people, with the visionaries. I am very good to balance that. So yes, not everything is the next deal. We have to, and the next opportunity and going that. So again, just like Rocky, Adrian, thank you very much for having me.
I love it. We've had some people identify themselves as willing to mentor. So those of you looking for mentors.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks, Colonel, for sharing your experiences. I'm Ben Galindez, former Navy with experience in fire support, believe it or not. My give is I've been in the defense industry since 2003, working for Lockheed, Booz Allen, a couple of small businesses. So, and as a engineer to project manager to a business development proposal writer guy. So if anybody wants help navigating that world, come see me.
Ben, I think that you need to talk to Megan also. Adrian and Ben, I want you guys to talk to Megan because she has veterans looking for that kind of help. There you go, you're welcome.
Hi, I'm Jimmy Threet. My give is I'm a pretty resourceful guy and I have a pretty wide network and I know how to navigate most of the systems as far as like the VA and some of these programs. Like I've been to EBV, the VIR, Bunker Labs Ambassador, MSTC, and Patriot Boot Camp. So I know a lot about these programs and how they work, and I have connections within those entities as well. And with the EBV, I also, not only do I have UT, but also Texas A&M. So I do a lot of work with McFerrin School of Entrepreneurship there.
I also want to brag on Jimmy a bit. He started up a Friday morning hike for veterans just to connect with one another. He's also very engaged in the psychedelic healing community, so if you're interested in alternative
Hello, yes. My name is Daryl Rodriguez. Appreciate being here. I was also a Marine Corps infantryman. I know a couple people said that they were. On the construction side, I've been in business for a while with the residential and now the commercial. So if anyone has any questions about that, or I'd love to pick people's brain about it as well, if you've been in there longer than I have, that'd be awesome. Definitely looking for mentors. And definitely trying to make some friends out here. Appreciate it. Thank you.
I'm hiring lots of electricians, so anyone within the construction space, come talk to me about that.
Hey everyone, my name is Marcelino. Jim, thank you for just the words of wisdom, the words of perspective. I'm a class of 18 grad, so seeing an 88 grad, it's definitely uplifting to see someone who's done such a great job just leading in the Army, outside of the Army, and just in your life. So thank you. My give, I'm with JP Morgan Chase as stated, so any way I can be a value add while connecting you to people in the bank, whether it's business consultants, any connections I can really give through the bank, I'd love to be there for y'all. One takeaway that I had from your part, Jim, was just the power of perspective. As I've been kind of transitioning out, I transitioned off active duty 2 years ago. Shifting perspectives, looking at things from a different lens. I'd love to hear your thoughts on how you shifted your perspective throughout your time as a junior military officer and as a colonel, and now where you're at.
Yeah, another way to look at that is what you see depends on where you sit. And so that's where talking to everybody and getting to know their story really helps you understand that there's more than one way to see the picture. And so you got to become a communicator, and part of that is valuing everyone's story, because everyone has a story, whether it's good or bad. They have a story, and it's learning to become a good person that asks the good questions. So I mean, I'm sitting here getting bantered back and forth by two people that are really good at asking questions. And what you do is you find that where I learned this was my family, my parents, grandparents. We used to sit around, and we don't do this as families as much anymore, but sit down and have meals. We would have meals almost every night. And you'd hear people ask questions, and you'd hear the stories come out. I mean, and what's so fun about it is it builds community, and it builds a sense of belonging in hearing those stories take place. Again, I mentioned we were up in Montana. So one of my soldiers actually invited me up there from Afghanistan. So we've become friends since 2012. He invites me up there, and we had a Navy SEAL who decided to become a cowboy. We had a Red Raider who decided to become a cowboy. And they're coming from Idaho, they're coming from Washington State. We had 50 people that showed up and I was just a guy on the ground. You had cowboys that actually roped the cows. I'm telling this story because it's an example of the whole thing. I'm telling you a story, drawing you into that. You're becoming part of that community. And there's a sense of belonging, even though you weren't in Montana last Friday. And so can we become good question askers? Can we tell a story? Can we get other people to tell us their story? And what it does is as this occurred, we're sitting around the fire talking at night. I'm hearing all these different stories, and I'm understanding the perspectives that I have. I actually thanked, the guy's name is Corey, I thanked him after I got home and said, thank you for inviting me into your world, because I would never know the story of what a cowboy does had I not experienced that. And you facilitated me coming into that arena. And as good mentors, what can I do to help give you perspective, to give you experiences, to help you grow? That's part of growing that community of, yeah, it costs the company something to send you off to get a master's. But what we get back is 10 times more valuable want a satisfied employee, but an employee with perspective. Why do we invest so heavily? We talk about jobs within the Army, but we also talk about formal education, and we also talk about professional military education. And when you blend all three together, we produce, not only on the officer side, but on the enlisted side, we produce a quality of service member that is unmatched compared to anything else I've ever seen in the world. And I've seen a lot of armies. I mean, from conscripts all the way through in my 30-year career. And our NCOs operate at the level beyond most officers in other militaries.
Thank you. And thank you to the panelists and Lauren for setting this up.
Hey, how you guys doing? I'm Rudy Montez, retired Army. Nothing to take away. I appreciate that, sir, and your panel up there, understanding what you had went through and kind of mentoring us, looking at how we look at business types, as we move forward. Giveaways, I'm into environmental impacts. So even though being a grunt and looking at collateral damage has been seen through conflicts of war, I've gotten into bioremediation. We also do a lot of agriculture, so I farm a lot down in South Texas, using specialty crops or rotational crops, for eco-friendly products that are actually housing for homeless veterans. So, and then also my wife works at the VA, so she helps me out quite a bit. She helps a lot of my friends out quite a bit. She's working right now, and I'm pretty sure she'd love to be here to actually help you maneuver through the VA, because it's not all that bad. It's just some people just don't know how to maneuver it through that. So we work with a lot of other veterans and being able to help them out too. Thank you.
My last? Huh. Oh, okay, cool. Chris Vandenberg, U.S. Army, active, and then National Guard. Owner of Vetted Farms, Vetted Kitchens. I wear about 17 different hats like most business owners do. I think my give is I'm a serial connector and community builder. That's pretty much what I've been doing for the last 3 years, if not my whole life. Just didn't realize it. My ask is shameless plug for the VFWs. If you're a combat veteran, we need members. American Legions, we need members. There's a transition that's happening within those organizations that we're trying to bridge the gap. So I am the quartermaster of my VFW down in Oak Hill, South Austin. You don't have to live there, but we have just over 9 acres. We built a community garden. We're trying to make it a country club for veterans. That's really what we're looking at right now. So that's my ask is if you're a combat veteran, get connected with me, get connected with your local VFW. I know there's a lot of horror stories and, it's hard to talk to some of the members, the current leadership, but it's going to die off if we don't keep it going. And this organization does a lot for us as veterans in the military or from the military with lobbying and a lot of the laws that are being passed through our Congress, through state and federal are happening because of our VFW influence. So appreciate it.
And I'll also make a plug that Chris has a catering company. So if you're hosting events, let Chris be your go-to. All right, Patty, I'm going to let y'all close this out.
Okay. I'm Patty, TVN. What I didn't share earlier is that we're retired Army. And I think my superpower is, just like I did in the Army, was a connector and a support element. So this opportunity with Texas Veterans Network and Combined Arms is making sure that all of us in the room are up to date with everything that you have earned. And it's not a payout, it is what you have earned. So our platform makes it as simple as possible. So I want to make sure that you're connected. Please make sure that you get connected with me, have a conversation. I'm on LinkedIn. We could do a one-on-one, but sometimes you don't know what you don't know, and you don't know that you're eligible for all of this extra funding, certificates, et cetera, especially for startups and our state and partner agencies and SBA loans and commercial bankings. There's so many options out there. So please utilize resources, connect with me. I'm happy to do that as well.
And do you want to make a plug for Dan's book, which
Oh.
brought tears to my daddy's eyes?
Oh.
Yes.
Well, Dan has served, and our fellow friend here, Tim, has served, and we encourage Dan to put words to the service and tell the story and pay it back, and it was quite a process. So giving back, you get so much value out of it. So I really encourage everybody to do that as well. So there's several options to do that, so I'm happy to chat with you about that as well.
The name of Dan's book is Black Hearts and Painted Rifles. Patty forgot that part. I've known them for quite some time. So it's about his battalion's experience in Iraq during a very difficult time. My name's Tim. I've got a few days in the Army. I've got a few days outside of the Army. I'm an MST alum. My takeaway, read Venture Deals. It'll change your life. Read it with a pencil. Take notes. Take notes. If you have the ability to explore the MSTC curriculum, it's fantastic, particularly if you don't know what you want to do or where you want to start. I just encourage you to look at it. Go to one of the discovery sessions. They'll let you sit in the back of the class, but certainly read Venture Deals. I used it as my textbook for Ken Wiles' new venture capital class, and he endorses it as well. My goal once I retired from the Army was within 5 years. People go, dude, you were in the Army? And I want to actually make as many friends outside the Army as I have in, across all age groups. So, my goal was to transition that, and I'm about halfway to where I want to be. So my give, having worked with, been paid for, consulted for over 7 startups now, to include founding one and making a decision not to launch it out of a program, is I've got a pretty good lens to bounce ideas off of, so that's my give. My caution is everybody loves the military, 50% or more of the country does. That means the other half may not be so hot on it. So the one mistake that I see young veteran leaders make when they join the workforce is think they have the cornerstone on leadership. You will be absolutely blown away at just how talented everybody else is. So I always try to be the one to speak last, no pun intended here, but so I don't kind of stifle the conversation. And then in that, I would encourage all of you to make friends and counterparts and colleagues that are half your age. One of my counterparts in MSTC is 23 years old. He's on his 3rd or 4th company. He's got one launched right now. It's called Verified Carbon, and he has no bad habits, and his risk tolerance is through the roof. So he doesn't allow, for folks my age, I can tell you 1,000 reasons why it won't work. He's like, yeah, I don't care. I'm young. It doesn't work. I'll just get a job. So he's got that risk tolerance on his side, and it's really fun to work with young folks with big visions. My boss came to me about 2 months ago and said, Tim, I want our tech on Artemis 3. That was the end of the sentence. I'm like, cool. Go read Message to Garcia, and I'm starting to do the discovery on how we're going to get on Artemis 3 when we land on the moon. And it's kind of fun. So if you're in the space business, I'd love to have a conversation with you, and we can neck it down from there. So Black Hearts and Painted Rifles. Patty's lesser half, right? Yeah. So there you go. And thanks for the team for spending time with us tonight.
Tim, we need to talk. One of my scout leaders that my son's in is one of the lead scientists on Artemis.
Well, I'm going to talk to both of y'all for Space Force stuff, so we'll definitely have that conversation. Everyone, thank you so much for joining us. Now is the chance for y'all to connect with one another. So come get some more tacos, get some more cookies, connect with one another. If you need parking validation, it is at the table as you exit. But spend some time.
I know we have.
Sure. Were you at the Patriots holiday? Was he there?
No, I was not.